"This seat's for close family," my cousin Brandon declared while pushing me aside. I retorted, "Then let your actual family pay the damned $4,700 bill." I departed and abandoned them to wallow in their own predicament. I had always perceived my relatives never recognized any genuine worth in me during my youth. I was the odd one, the reserved child who didn't match their lifestyle. While my cousins boasted about wild weekends and expensive outfits, I was the one immersed in books, constantly learning, working, and planning my escape. I had no interest in trying to impress anyone, particularly not my egotistical and self-centered family members. But circumstances took an unexpected turn, and I ended up prospering. I pushed myself, forged my own path, and generated more income than any of them ever had. Not that they acknowledged it. They behaved as if they were indifferent until there was something beneficial for them. Which leads us to this evening. I had zero intentions to see them again. I'd avoided these gatherings for an extended period. They always seemed artificial, filled with forced laughter, cold glances, and reminders that regardless of my accomplishments, I'd always just be that insignificant nobody. But my mother, bless her, implored me. "Just attend one dinner, Robert. It's been years." I yielded. The regret struck me as soon as I entered that overpriced steakhouse. The entire family was already present, seated around a long, elegant table, laughing loudly like a scene for a television show. My cousin Brandon, my worst childhood tormentor, sat in the center, smirking as if he controlled the room. When his eyes located me, his smirk broadened. "Look who appeared." Brandon reclined in his chair, voice booming, attracting attention. "Didn't think you still remembered us, big man." I forced a slight smile and attempted to sit at the far end of the table. Brandon raised an eyebrow. "Nah, Robert. Someone's already occupying that spot." I surveyed the room. The only seats available were near Brandon or his equally arrogant sister Melissa. I reached for another chair, but Melissa rolled her eyes. "That one's taken too." I blinked. "You must be kidding." Brandon chuckled, leaned forward, and said, "Robert, this table's for close family. Find a place somewhere else." Some snickered. Not everyone, but enough to make me clench my teeth. My mother appeared nervous, but remained silent. As usual, my aunt smiled smugly. My uncle shook his head as if I was some strange problem. And Brandon, he looked proud. I could have left. I probably should have. But instead, I gave a small grin. "Somewhere else, huh?" I replied, "Sure, I'll remain." I grabbed a chair from another table nearby and positioned it just outside their main arrangement. Technically still part of the group, but barely. A waiter approached, looking uncertain, but I waved him away and ordered just a coffee. Brandon and Melissa exchanged a quick glance, but didn't speak a word yet. Then the real reasons they wanted me there became evident. I wasn't naive. They weren't here to reconnect. They were here to showcase. Throughout the entire meal, they tried hard to appear wealthy. "I'll take the Wagyu," Brandon announced loudly, closing the menu with flair. "And a lobster. Oh, and beverages for everyone." He gave me a cocky smile. "It's a significant occasion after all." Melissa smiled. "Yeah, we should indulge ourselves. Order the finest desserts, too." My uncle added. The food and drinks kept arriving, and the total kept escalating. I remained silent, slowly sipping my coffee, observing with a composed expression. When all the food was consumed, the glasses empty, and everyone leaned back looking proud and satisfied, the server walked over and placed the check, $2,185.50. He positioned it directly in front of me. Brandon stretched out and said, "You're covering this, right, Robert?" Melissa laughed. "Come on, that's pocket change for you." No one spoke. All eyes at the table were fixed on me, waiting for my reaction. I allowed the silence to linger a bit longer, then slowly picked up the check, examining it as if the amount mattered. I released a small laugh, quiet and calm. Brandon narrowed his eyes. "What's amusing?" I leaned back in my seat, took another slow sip from my coffee, and smiled. "Oh," I said, "you truly don't know who's going to handle this bill tonight." Then I gently placed the check back on the table, right in front of Brandon. Brandon stared at the paper, blinking as if he couldn't comprehend what was happening. I sat comfortably, watching as confusion began to spread around the table like a rapidly moving fire. "Wait, you're serious?" Brandon's tone dropped, and a hint of nervousness crept in. His smirk faded slightly. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I drank more coffee, watching his face transition from puzzled to realizing my intention to something colder and angrier. Melissa noticed. She quickly gave Brandon a small nod and asked, "Isn't your business thriving, Robert?" Her tone was sweet, but there was sarcasm underneath it. Surely one dinner like this won't break the bank. There it was. The belief that I had to pay just because I had achieved some success. They acted as if I owed them. They didn't consider the years of hard work I'd invested. They didn't think about all the times I struggled. They only saw what they could extract from me. But this wasn't about the cost. It was about how they treated me like trash and still expected to benefit from the life I built. Brandon spoke again, trying harder now, though his grin had become rigid. "Come on, Robert. You've got it." He looked at the waiter and then at me, as if giving me one more opportunity to agree. "Yeah, the total is substantial, but you're doing well, right? Just swipe the card and end the night." My mom, silent until now, shifted in her chair. "Robert, honey," she said softly, "it's merely dinner. It's family. You know how they are." Her voice faded as if even she didn't fully believe the words. She had always tried to keep everyone peaceful, never choosing sides. But this time I could sense it. She was tired too. She knew I was being exploited. She just didn't want to speak up. I placed my coffee cup down gently. Then I looked around at all the faces staring at me. My uncle, stomach pressing into the table, leaned forward. His voice was rough. "Look, Robert, whatever this is, stop it. We all know you've been making good money. Don't act childishly. Pay up so we can leave." He wasn't asking. He was commanding. Cold, harsh. Others nodded. Some smiled. Some just sat there waiting for me to surrender. They clearly believed I would, that I'd pay to maintain harmony. But I wasn't backing down. Not after everything. Not after being the one they mocked, ignored, or used when it benefited them. And honestly, watching them grow nervous was almost enjoyable. They had no idea what was coming. I gave a small smile. Not large, not loud, just a calm one, a quiet smirk. "Sure," I said, voice steady. "I'll cover the bill." Sighs of relief spread around the table. A few even patted my back, as if I had just saved the day. But I wasn't finished. Brandon brightened. "See, that wasn't so difficult," he said with a fake salute. "Appreciate it, big shot." I leaned forward, still smiling. "Actually," I said, "I've changed my mind. You all can pay for it. Good luck." The table went completely silent, like someone pressed a mute button. No one moved. Not a word. Brandon's face dropped. His confidence vanished. He opened his mouth to argue, but I was already standing, grabbing my jacket. I wasn't leaving just yet, but I wanted them to feel every moment of that instant. "Just so you know," I said in a low voice, "if you don't want to deal with this kind of enormous total again, you might want to be more intelligent about how much you order next time." Brandon's eyes were now wide with shock. He wasn't the smug cousin who always dominated me anymore. His jaw was tight, and he scanned the others at the table, clearly lost on what to do next. He thought I'd remain silent and accept it as always. But this time I was in control. I walked away from the table at a slow pace, fully aware of what was about to occur because I had already set everything in motion. The server still stood nearby, uncertain who was going to handle the payment. Then I heard Brandon shout, "Hey!" His voice had a sharp edge. "You can't just..." I cut him off. "I'll be right over there," I said calmly, pointing toward the lounge seats off to the side, away from the main area. "Let me know once you've sorted it out." I kept walking. The tension behind me was thick like a heavy fog. They weren't accustomed to this. They were used to pushing guilt onto me and watching me yield. But I wasn't going to play that role anymore. Their spoiled attitude, their belief that I owed them. Tonight, they were going to learn something different. I sat down in a soft chair and looked back toward the dining room. Brandon stood nervously pulling at his collar, whispering quickly to Melissa and my mom. I couldn't hear everything from where I sat, but I picked up fragments. "Robert's not paying. He'll cover it, right? Don't upset him. We need him to handle it. Do we even have enough money?" They were panicking, trying to determine who would pay for what, calculating how much they could collect together without actually spending their own money. They were starting to realize that I wasn't going to rescue them. Minutes passed. I scrolled through my phone casually, pretending I didn't care, but I kept glancing toward the table just to catch glimpses of their growing fear. The waiter hovered, probably giving them judging looks, waiting for someone to take action. The more time passed, the clearer it became. They had no plan. Eventually, Brandon made his way over to me. He looked like he'd walked through flames, his face tense, a mix of anger and regret. I stayed seated, taking my time before looking up at him. "What's the problem?" I asked, sounding relaxed. He exhaled forcefully, trying to remain calm. "Robert, this isn't amusing. The bill is considerably higher than we anticipated. Can you please just assist us this time? I mean, come on. We're family." I gave a soft laugh. "I'm not joking, Brandon. You all selected this meal. You picked whatever you desired without even checking if I was okay with it. And now you want me to cover the wine, the food, everything?" He looked uncomfortable, swallowing hard. "We didn't think it would turn out like this. It's just one dinner. Can't you just, help?" I leaned back and let his words linger in the air. Same story, different night. No responsibility, no apology. They didn't care about me, just about the money they thought they could obtain from me. "Brandon, I'm done," I said at last. "You're not children. Pay for your own expenses. I'm not your wallet anymore. I don't care if we're related. That doesn't mean I owe you anything." His face hardened. The guilt vanished. Now he was just angry. His eyes narrowed. "You're seriously going to leave this entire bill on us after everything we've done for you? After all the support we gave you?" I looked at him coldly. "You mean all those times you expected me to pay for everything while you sat boasting as if I owed you? That's not support, Brandon." Behind him, Melissa and my mom stood watching, growing more anxious by the second. They saw the situation slipping from their control. I could see Melissa's mind working, probably trying to find a way to manipulate the circumstances. My mom, though, she looked more nervous than ever. "We can't just leave," Melissa said suddenly. Her voice was shaky and high. "We're not really going to walk out on a $4,700 charge, are we? That's just insane." I raised my eyebrow. "Nobody's fleeing, Melissa. All of you are staying and settling the cost. I'm finished pretending everything's fine. It doesn't matter if we're blood related. You've been exploiting me for far too long, and I'm through with it." Brandon's face turned bright red, frustration clearly rising. "You've got to be kidding. You're seriously just going to abandon us here like this? Now we're the ones stuck with everything." "Robert, I'm stuck with it," I interrupted. "Was I the one selecting all that food?" "No, you all made those decisions yourselves. Now deal with the consequences." Melissa looked like she was about to say something, but my mom intervened first. Her voice was trembling. "Robert, please. This isn't the moment. We're your family. Just help this once. You have the money." Her words hung there, heavy. Of course they knew I had money. That's exactly the issue. They saw my success, but not the years of hard work required to achieve it. They didn't see effort. They saw a free opportunity. I stood up slowly and adjusted my jacket. "No, I can't help, Mom. Brandon can. Melissa can. All of you can, but I'm not cleaning up your disaster this time." I looked toward the waiter who had been standing nearby the whole time, clearly listening. I gave him a small nod, my way of indicating I was finished. Then I turned and walked toward the exit, never glancing back. As I stepped out into the night air, I heard whispers behind me. I didn't stop. Footsteps followed, making me slow my pace, but I still didn't look back. They brought this on themselves. Now it was time for them to face it. Soon I reached the parking lot. With my hands in my coat pockets, I stared at my car in silence. Then I heard the rapid steps and the clicking of heels behind me. Melissa's voice followed. "Robert, wait." I didn't answer. My heartbeat was steady. I was completely calm, but I could hear the panic in her voice. She was trying to pull me back into the same situation I was done with. "Robert," she called again, voice trembling. "You can't just leave us like this. This is serious." I spun around, cutting her off. "You think I don't understand what's serious, Melissa? You think I can't detect exactly what you're attempting to accomplish?" She stopped walking, stunned. Neither of us said anything. The wind blew through the trees, and tension filled the space between us. She searched for words, but I didn't let her speak. "Not this time. You've been taking advantage of me for so long," I said quietly but firmly. "Every time something happens, it's Robert will handle it, right? Never once has it been, 'Hey, Robert, how are you doing?' It's always about what I can provide. I've had enough. I saw her eyes flicker. Guilt showed momentarily, but she quickly replaced it with anger. You can't just abandon us like this, she snapped, voice rising. We're depending on you. You can't just walk out on your own family when things go wrong. I clenched my jaw, but remained composed. I'm not leaving my family, Melissa. I'm walking away from people who believe I owe them everything. This isn't about love. It's about control. And I'm finally done allowing you to treat me like I'm your contingency plan. She froze, face red, clearly uncertain what to say next. But before she could speak again, I saw Brandon and my mom come rushing out of the restaurant. Brandon looked disheveled, his shirt half untucked, his face full of panic. My mom looked scared and guilty simultaneously. Her eyes found me immediately. Robert, please, she said, her voice breaking. We don't know what to do. We can't pay. You're the only one who can help us. Her words reached me, but not in the way she expected. A strange kind of calm washed over me as I stood there watching them panic. They had pushed me for years, always expecting me to give in. Now, finally, they were seeing that everything comes with a price. You seriously think I'm going to fix this for you again? I said, my voice lower now. You truly believe this is just about money? It's not. This is about dignity. This is about you finally understanding that I worked incredibly hard for everything I possess. And no, you don't get to keep taking from me when life doesn't go your way. Brandon stepped toward me, hands slightly raised, pleading. Robert, don't do this. We're your family. Try to understand this isn't just about the cost. It's about... Stop, I said, cutting him off sharply. Brandon, for you, it's always been about money. The moment you figured I'd cover it, I stopped being your brother and turned into your personal ATM. Brandon's face twisted. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, as if the words just wouldn't form. He looked like he couldn't believe this was authentic, that I was actually standing up to him, that I wasn't yielding. I looked over at Mom. She was panicked, her eyes darting between me and the restaurant entrance, probably hoping I'd change my mind and walk back in to save them. But I wasn't doing that. Not this time. You created this mess, I said, turning my back to them. Now it's yours to resolve. I'm finished. Before they could react, I opened my car door, slid into the seat, and started the engine. The soft sound of the motor filled the space between us. I glanced in the rearview mirror. They were still standing there, completely frozen. I didn't feel bad. Not at all. They had their chance. More than once. As I drove away, I felt something unfamiliar. Freedom. For once, I wasn't the one being exploited. I wasn't the one paying for everyone else's problems. And as the restaurant grew smaller in my mirror, I knew I'd finally done what I should have done years ago. They had pushed me too far. Now, they had to face it. Not long after, my phone started buzzing. I didn't answer. Let them try. Let them message. I wasn't responding anymore. But of course, they didn't stop. By the time I got home, there were 6 missed calls from Mom, from Brandon, and a message from Melissa. Robert, we're really sorry. Please come back. We'll repay you. Don't leave us like this. I stared at the screen momentarily, fingers hovering above the reply button. I didn't type anything. They didn't comprehend how severely they had erred. I dropped my phone onto the couch, grabbed a beer from the refrigerator, and sat down. It was quiet in my apartment. I could hear a few cars passing outside, the faint hum of the fridge, and nothing else. The silence was preferable to the drama I had just escaped. After a few minutes, I started feeling something else. Peace. Not just about the money. This wasn't about the $4,700 anymore. It was about finally saying no. About defending myself. Something I had never truly done before. Then the phone buzzed again. Another text from Melissa. This time short and direct. We can't pay the bill. It's $4,700. Please help. That was it. I looked at the message for a while. It felt surreal. For $1,700, the same amount they had casually expected me to pay earlier, as if it meant nothing. I remembered how they acted like it was just another night out, assuming I'd handle it. I didn't feel even slightly guilty. I took another sip of beer, leaned back, and waited for what I knew was forthcoming. Sure enough, a few minutes later, the phone rang. Brandon again. I picked up. Robert, he said immediately, his voice stressed, intense. Okay, we get it. You're upset, but we need help. We can't cover this. You're the only one who can fix it." His voice was full of panic. I could feel it. It almost made me laugh, but I didn't. "I already told you," I said calmly. "This is your problem. Fix it yourselves." "But Robert, you don't understand," he said, his voice rising. "This is family," Brandon shouted, his voice escalating and the words tumbling together. "You're really going to desert us like this after all we've experienced together?" "All we've experienced?" I repeated, stunned. "You mean the countless times you all treated me like a walking cash machine? The constant demands that always came with guilt or pressure? That's what you're calling shared experience?" He didn't answer right away. There was just silence for a moment, then a long exhale. "That's not how I meant it, Robert. Come on, we're not trying to use you. We just need a little assistance." "Help," I replied, my tone sharp. "What I've been doing for years wasn't helping, Brandon. It was making it easy for you to avoid growing up. And guess what? You're not kids anymore. If I keep intervening, you'll never handle your own problems." No words came from his end. The silence that followed felt thick. He didn't push back this time. I could tell the truth had landed, even if he didn't want to confront it. "Take care, Brandon," I said, my voice now firm and distant. "You're definitely going to need it." Before he could respond, I ended the call. The rest of my evening was tranquil. I drank my beer, put on something to watch, and didn't think twice about what was happening at the restaurant. Later that night, my phone buzzed again. One final text from Mom. "Robert, please, if you're still hurt, we'll try to make things right. Just come back and take care of the check." I didn't reply. They were going to handle this without me. By the next day, I heard what happened. They couldn't settle the bill and had to start calling their own friends, asking for help. I found out they even had to apply for a loan just to cover a portion of it. The most brutal part, the restaurant manager apparently confronted them, called them out for pretending to be a close family while actually dumping the expense on someone else, taking advantage of others to avoid being accountable. It was humiliating. And me? I felt absolutely nothing. No regret, no guilt. Because in truth, the best part wasn't watching them panic. It wasn't the satisfaction of walking away. It was finally being in control. It was establishing a boundary and refusing to let it be violated. That moment was worth more than the overpriced dinner they expected me to pay for. I wasn't their fallback anymore. And after everything I had endured, I learned something important. Sometimes the most honest way to care about family is to stop rescuing them, especially when they never learn, even if it means watching them collapse. I'd done everything I could. Now, it was their turn to deal with the consequences.